Hey guys, it's Vicki. This is a test video. Parts of it may show up elsewhere. I don't know. What I'm doing on this, I'm playing with the, I'm studying the high impact paints from Tattered Angels. And this is their color chart. Might end up spilling something. Y'all just gonna have to wait for a minute. Okay. It's their color chart. Beautiful colors. Some are covering more than others, but these are designed to have a satiny finish and work on fabrics more than paper, and they do work great on fabric. To add to this color line, what I have been asked to do is come up with some new sort of decor colors, more in, you know, the what could be used in decorating. But as in all color theory, you start with a color palette, a set color palette. And what I like to do, my favorite right now for oil painting, and it works the same, it doesn't matter, is I like what's called a split primary. And with the exception of these two, there are 7 colors in white. And theory being, and I think I've proven the theory, it works great for me anyway, those 7 colors in white can create all these colors. Now, can you get there another route? Sure you can. But you're going to end up wasting more paint, more experimentation, because this chart only uses 2 pigments at a time. The chances of getting mud are much slimmer. Not to say that I'm not mixing a warm and a cool, but what I have here is a warm blue and a cool blue, ultramarine and phthalo. I have a cool red, which is alizarin, and a warm red, which is cad red light. Cad orange doesn't count, that's an extra. I have cad yellow medium and Hansa yellow. That's my cool yellow. Has kind of a bluish where this tends toward red, okay? So this color is used an awful lot to mix earth tones, so I like to have it mixed in a pile just like it came out of the tube. This is a mixture of 50% ultramarine blue and 50% alizarin crimson. And I can make an earth tone here that is better than having to carry around earth tones. So the next thing, in a tube or a bottle. The next thing I did was put these on a color wheel. And as close as I could approximate, the red from the high media line is somewhere, it's kind of close to alizarin crimson, which is kind of cool, okay? And then the blue is here, which on a color wheel typically is cobalt blue. And then the green gave me some problems. Let's see, not green, primary, yellow. Yellow's just about spot on. It almost matches the Hansa yellow in Deco Art Media, which is my control group. They're artist quality paints, and they're labeled with artist quality, or with chemical names, so I know what I'm getting here. So I mixed the red and the yellow and got an orange, and their orange is right on target, or the media is right on target. The coverage is a little bit weaker than what. So anyway, this is what I did, and I separated the tints and the tertiary colors further out on the ring so that those don't interfere with my testing, because if I take this red and add white to it, I'm going to get some pinkish tones. So I can mix those. I can mix that, I can mix that. I can mix everything except for these 3 primaries. the next thing I did was pulled colors from my control group, which is the Deco Art Traditions line, and the closest matching color to the Tattered Angels line. Now let's just pick up this blue. I have one blue in the High Impact line, and it is, believe it or not, almost between my Ultramarine from Deco Art and my Ultramarine Phthalo. These are two colors that I have on my oil color chart. I might be able to use this for my Ultramarine Blue. I don't know. Because it will affect the way all the other colors mix with it. So the Deco Art, I'll get it in a minute. The Deco Art, here we go. The Deco Art Alizarin Crimson and the Tattered Angels Red are very close. The Alizarin Crimson in Deco Art's a little more blue. Again, this is kind of falling in between the two colors. Orange, I'm going to go with the Diarylide, Paranone Orange for my cat orange. I'm going to use Deco Art Naphthol Red for my Cad Red. My yellows, again, the Tattered Angels, it's almost in the middle. It's almost the lemony color, so I'm going to use it. I'm going to use Dara Yellow. It's close to Cad Yellow and white. So, again, what I'm trying to do is just come up with a dependable mixing formula that can be recreated. Not necessarily with these paints, but with some pigments that are close to that. Okay? You confused so far? So, I said I was going to try to see what kind of a purple I get with the Tattered Angels Red and the Tattered Angels Blue. And I want to mix 50-50. Great measurement system I've got there. Move this over where you can see it. Alrighty, I have mixed my first mixture here was what I thought to be half and half. Then I added a little more blue, and this is a very warm color here, so that tells me that this red is a warm red, not a cool red. It's not cool enough regardless of what the little color swatch said. So I added more blue and I got to a darker color. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull my swatch book back up, and I'm just going to work on this side of the page. I need some white. And I'm going to use a palette knife because it's easier to clean off. So I'm going to put this darkest color right here. Come on. Good. Now at that point you can't really tell what you've got. We're comparing it with this color right here. You can't tell what color tone you've got until you mix a little bit of white with it. So I'm going to pull a little bit of white, doesn't take much, and I'm going to mix just a tad of that darkest color. Need just a little bit more. Okay. So that would be my lightest tone right there. I'm going to go back up to that middle. That's better. When I added more blue that third time, I got it a little bit wonky. Okay, that's better. Okay, that's not too bad. Now, add just a little bit more. Make it just a little bit darker. A little bit more. And a little bit more. Okay. See what we got. You can't do that. Goose. Now that is very close. Very close. Let's do the same thing. This is, I'm sorry you guys, this is just the way I roll. I can't help it. Ultramarine. I'm going to try the Artist Pigments. I'm so glad I broke the lid off of that. There's Ultramarine. And Alizarin Crimson, which is permanent alizarin crimson. You have to make sure you're using permanent because the other is not light fast. I don't have quite... Okay, making room here. Let's mark this. Tattered Angels, blue plus red. It's half and half as I could get. And this is Deco Art, Ultramarine, and Alizarin Crimson. Put the scissors away. I don't like that palette knife. I like my metal one better. Better, better, better. I don't have a little one. Nope. Excuse me while I go get a little metal. Alrighty, I'm back. I like a small metal. They're a little bit more flexible. And of course I've got about 200 here within 8 feet, but okay. Okay. Move this out of the way. I really want y'all to be able to see this. Okay, move that. Now move this. I normally do not mix my pigments to their death. But in this case of color mixing, I do want to lose all trace of individual color. When I'm actually painting, I like to see traces of the individual color. Can't really tell anything. I'm going to go with that though. Just instinct. And I've done this a few thousand times. And love every minute of it. Okie doke. See, isn't that a whole lot easier? You just wipe that off and you know you've gotten rid of all your trace color. Now this is my lightest and I just like to pull a little bit of that color into the white. Now what this tells me is that I've got too much red in my mixture. So I need to add a little more blue. That's what I call adding a little bit. And I've got white on my palette knife. Dang it. I'm going to come right back over the top of that one. Wipe it off. Pull some into here. It's my lightest. It could have more white in it, but for these purposes, I'm just seeing what these pigments are going to do. Okay, now mix a little more. And that will be my next to darkest. Add a little bit more. And level 3. Alright. Now we're going to see which one. I know which one. I can tell. Right there. So I'm going to stick with those. I'm going to stick with the alizarin crimson and the ultramarine blue there. I'm going to put the blue down. I'm going to try the red. That's the Daylorani. Not Daylorani. Heavens to Betsy. Deco Art. See, that's warmer, so I'm going to go with that one too. Very small nuance makes all the difference. And since I'm going to come up with new colors for the factory to duplicate, I want to know what I did to get there. Okay, so Scrooge that I am. I didn't get out enough here to mess with. Yeah. A little wax on the palette. Okie doke, so there's my CAD. It's real close to the CAD yellow medium. I don't think so. I think it's... Oh, that is the... That is that. Okay. Cat orange. Let's see, that's the light yellow. No. No, that's red. That's orange. CAD yellow medium I already squirted. And Hansa, I think we're going to be okay with this yellow. Looks pretty good here. I think we'll be okay. Alrighty. Now, what you gonna do? Okay. I'm gonna go back to my Masterson Stay Wet palette and move these out of the way. I am so tempted to use, and I'm going to, dang it, I'm going to switch that out with the Deco Art. I'm going to switch that out with the Hansa Yellow Light in Deco Art. There's a method for my madness here. I will get more consistent results using the same brand across for this particular experiment. Okay? So I'm going to get up as much of this as I can. I'm going to put it right here on my pad. That's my mud color. That one's I'm not using. Then I'm going to Ultramarine. Now this palette will stay wet for a while, so I can put out plenty of paint and not really worry about wasting it. So if I get where I have to go do something else, there's Phthalo. There was nothing in the Deco Art Media line for that. Then I've got Alizarin Crimson. I've got Cad Red Light. I'm using Naphthol. Orange. And again, I'm using Paranone instead of Cad Orange. And then my Diarlide Yellow for my Cad Yellow. Some of these colors and manufacturers have gotten away from the cadmiums because of the safety issue, and these are chemicals that have been developed for the automotive industry. And there's my titanium, fairly clean. Normally I wouldn't waste this, but I'm on a mission. Be prepared to go through some paper towels with this process. I use rags in a box. I get them from Sam's. And they're industrial shop towels. They have less fiber. Till I just had wax out because I've got it all over this little mixing palette. After CHA, my studio is going to get some cleaning. Get all that wax off of there. It's not hurting anything, but okay. And here we go. Alrighty, I'm back. And I have decided what have you decided? I have labels here, and I'm going to cut them in half. I'm making this up as I go along. To do the oil ones, I use, where is that line? There. I use a canvas pad, you know, just inexpensive canvas. And I mark off the 1-inch squares with, I can't think and work at the same time. with 1/4 inch masking tape. I'll get it out in a minute. Okay. But I've never done one in acrylic. Not that there's anything different about that. And I'm going to use these address labels. And the reason is because I can pull them off of here. And I can cut them in half. And I'll have 2 sets. And that way I can make one for the file, and I can keep one in my swatch book. We'll see if this works. It should. After all, acrylic paint's designed for paper, so if you choose to use it on something else, on scrapbook paper, you know that you've got to adjust what your results are. Just mixed up a batch of alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue so that I'd have that pre-mixed on my palette. Now what I have left over here is the remnants that I haven't been able to scrape up. So there's my darkest. I colored the whole thing. I can cut it in half when it's dry and have 2 color charts. So that one's done. So now let's add some white. Just a little bit. I'm a little bit shy on blue. So I'm going to add just a little bit. And this is supposed to be my lightest tone. Close enough. Paint another tag. And it needs more white. If you need more white, just... Of course, not too many people are going to do this, but it's just the way I roll, and I may get tired here in a few minutes and quit. You can always add just a little more white to it to lighten it up. I can't believe I just did that. Yeah, I can. Overs. It's the way it goes. Okay. Okay. Good enough. That's number 5. Add a little more dark. Add a little bit of blue because I didn't mix my first one quite right. And that ought to be good enough. Uh-oh. And here's what we ended up with. 5 address labels with a different value. Values the lightness of the color and the darkness of the color. Okay, our next color is another Leaning Tower Pizza ultramarine blue. And what we're going to do this time is straight ultramarine. That'll get it. Okay, I'm going to do this with the remaining colors on the palette, and then I'll show you. Alrighty, I finished that step. Now the next step is to start with my mud again. Now this time I will do the very same thing I did before. The ultramarine blue and the cad red 50-50. You can tell I got to feeling guilty about all the paint I was using, so I just grabbed another plate of stencils and, not stencils, stickers. And just mopped up some. Okay, that's it for the white and the... Alrighty. The second page is a mixture of your main color for that page, which is, this one is mud. This is dominant with every other color, so mostly mud and ultramarine blue. So 60-40, whatever, because later down in the next pages you're going to have ultramarine blue mixed with mud, and you want a difference in the color. Does that make sense? You want to add enough ultramarine blue to this to change its color, but way less than 50-50. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do this. Alright. There's some of my purple mixture. And there's some ultramarine blue straight off my palette. Okay? We'll see what happens. Some pigments are stronger than others, and they'll react differently. Now remember, our mud is made with ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson, so 50-50 supposedly. So the more blue you add, you're already adding ultramarine blue to what you had. Okay? Okay. Now there's our let's go ahead and pull some white and a little bit of that and see what we get. pretty darn close to that color. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 100% before I get white all in it. You'll want to mix up a little bit more than you think you're going to need because you are mixing now. Does that make sense? Doesn't make a bit of sense. Alright. You don't want to go back and have to approximate this mix. Before we were using straight out of the tube. And because you are consistent with your mixing and you only have 2 pigments, you're going to be able to recreate these. That one is just a little bit, needs just a little bit more white. I'm about the craziest person I know when it comes to doing this. But I do know some oil painters who say that they redo theirs every year. And every time they add an additional pigment to their palette, they do these again. Because in oil painting, remember, you're just working with your selected tubes and you want to get real familiar with how they work. Now, I want to show you that I couldn't throw it away. So I took another sheet of stickers, and these are all the little end pieces off the stickers after I cut them. And this will make a good base for something. So I'm going to get another pad of stickers out, or another sheet of stickers. And I think I'm going to wet this a little bit. Okie doke, I'm going to do one more with the camera on and then I'm going to disappear for a while. Did I tell you guys this is my most favorite thing in the world to do? I love to play with color. Alrighty, so now we go ultramarine blue. I'm sorry, mud. And we pick up the next color on our palette, which is phthalo blue. Not quite as much. Now mix. We'll mix these pretty good. Clean off your palette. Let's pull some white. Looks pretty good. Still need a little more white. Oil paint whites seem to be a little tint a little stronger. Make sure I got that on the right side. I did. Look what a wonderful grayed down blue you get. This is a form of mono printing if you want to get right down to it. You got paint on your surface, you can draw and squiggle in it, just like this. And see if you pick up any pattern. You got some. Okie doke. Next one is, again, back to the mud. Oops. And now we're on to Alizarin Crimson. And again, just like with the Ultramarine Blue, this is mixed 50-50 with that color. So if you add any at all, you're going to switch that balance to just a little more red. It's still a beautiful red-violet color. After being on the phone yesterday doing computer training all day, with a Red, you're a friend of mine, I had time to think about this. This is the page with the Ultramarine and Alizarin Crimson or mud mixture being dominant, which means that I take more of it than any of the other pigments. And you can see on this oil chart where the colors get warmer as they go across, because right here are your cool colors, and from here to here are your Cad Red Light, Cad Orange, Cad Yellow Medium, and Hansa Yellow. So you can see the warmness of those. Even though I mixed these in acrylic with DecoArt's Artist Quality pigments, they react differently, but you know, not bad. Here's this one. Now I can fine tune that mixture to make it closer, but I found that the Traditions White, I found all of them, the viscosity or the thickness of these affected how the colors turned out, which means that they were more sheer than the counterpart in oil, which is more of a butter consistency. So that was part of the issue I discovered. It's nothing major, it's just an issue. And you can see here that, yeah, I got close. I think the white being so thin affected how my middle three tones worked out on each of those. And again, if this really mattered, I could start over with Liquitex or Tube or Heavy Body Golden, but it's not that big a deal because I was basically getting my head around. See, this one is a whole lot warmer than this one. And then there's always the possibility I got two of them mixed up. That's entirely possible. Those two look an awful lot alike. This one looks pretty close. This one's pretty good. They're close. And that one's not close at all. Well, it is, I'm sorry. But those are just some of the factors that you learn. Even if I took these same pigments and did the oil again, I would not get the same exact results, because it's just variance. There's variance in every brand, variance in every pigment, and it doesn't really matter as long as you understand what you're dealing with. So I have decided to go ahead and skip these, and I'm going to work from my oil charts and then make minor adjustments here and there. So I'll be back. Alrighty, what I've done is taken some color swatches that were given to me just as beginning of research, and then I went online myself and checked some of the paint companies, Pantone, and tried to see where the overlap was. And not knowing where this came from, this is pretty darn close. And this is close. I like this one too. It's kind of a reddish brown. That's nice. Banana yellow is nice. And this I'm going to call Celadon green, because that's one of the ones I've got written in. This is similar. So between those two pages, I can come up with colors that, in home decor anyway, are very interesting and would add to what is already in the line. So I'm going to keep it under 15, and I'm going to go now. I'm going to start. We'll see where we get. Alright, first color. Here's what I mixed up. Lighting's not very good. It's similar to this, very similar to this, taking into account that that's a laser print. And my formula is Cad Yellow Medium, mostly. If it's the first number, it's mostly Cad Yellow Medium, which is a warm yellow. Okay, warm yellow. Hansa is my cool yellow, think lemon yellow, and just a touch of the orange that I'm using, which is Paranone. And this is my oil color swatch, right in this range. Let's see how close I get. I forgot to add my white. That orange is taken over. Okay, we're right there. So I want just a little more white. You know, I think I'm going to switch to opaque white, see what happens. Now, if I want to gray this down just a little, very carefully, I would add a cool color. And I would add the complement. Let me get the smaller one to show you. I'm right in here. So my complement is a dark blue, which would be an ultramarine. Now you have to be real careful when you do this. Get all that goodie up there. I'm going to go into my ultramarine. I've picked up just a little. Now if you get too much, it's going to turn green on you. Just a titch. We're very close. Add a little more white. And I'm going to call that one done. I like it. Palette knife has a nick on the end of it. It's a beautiful sunny gold. And my cup runneth over. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and paint a burlap tag with that since I have it out, and otherwise it's going to go to waste. So I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to add a touch of matte medium. Additives are kind of like water in that they can break down the consistency of the paint, where mediums you can generally add as much as you want to it and it won't affect the viscosity of the paint. So I know that these paints already have acrylic additives, if you will. So there's not much I can do here other than make that a little bit thicker with a medium so it'll coat the burlap as good as what came out of the factory. Okay, so I'm just imitating what the factory's going to do, because they'll take this formula and add the additive to make it the thickness that they want it. Okay, now we're going to we're going on. I'm using, for my formula for Celadon Green, Ultramarine. So I've got to find the Ultramarine page. Ultramarine Enhancer. That's what I'm using. I might put a little bit of Cad Yellow Medium in there. So I'm going to try a little batch first. Ultramarine. Look at there, there's a little Cad Medium right there. Ultramarine. Be very careful not to contaminate your paint because it will affect what you're doing. Okay, mostly ultramarine. And I'm going to get a dark greenish color. It should be somewhere in there, which it is. It might have just a little bit more ultramarine. I think I'm just going to start squeezing these from the bottle. Just a hair more. Oops. And there would be the problem with straight out of the bottle. Pretty darn close. One more drop of Hansa. Okay, now white. You can also make a real pretty celadon green with ivory black and yellow ochre and white. Beautiful color. Now everybody raves about a Dick Blick mixture that is, talk louder because I got up and moved. It's way more grayed down. Alright, if I want to aim toward that, let's see what else would get us close to. Let's try a touch of phthalo blue. That is way touch. Okay. This might be a batch for the trash. Now what was wrong with my first mixture was that it was a little bit too blue. It was still a beautiful color. Now we're still way green. Now guess what you do if you want to tone down that green. Add a little bit complement, which is red. And let's see which we red or the, so we're kind of in here, somewhere in there, and the bluish red would be better, which is this one right here. Just a little. Can you see that? Oh, I better write my formula down. That was ultramarine blue, Hansa yellow, white, phthalo blue, and a little bit of cad yellow medium. Pretty color. It's not identical, but okay, we're going to start here. It's cad red light and alizarin crimson. Cad Red Light. And Alizarin Crimson. Now this is your cool red and your warm red. Go to my Cad Red page. And we're aiming for this color right here. And I think we need some more Cad Red. It's awfully grayed on my swatch. I'm not getting that grayness here. Let's go ahead and add our white. Yeah, see, I'm too pink. So add some more of my warm red. Let's see on this piece of paper. I'm a little bit too light. It's the way it always goes. Okay, a little bit of that. And a little bit of that. See if we can't darken that back up just a little. Now if I want to gray that down just a little, which I think I do, you know, I think not gray so much as warming it up. I'm going to, I was just looking, I used the orange. I was just looking at the color chart, and that's real similar to this. So this color may not be necessary. So just for grins, let's see if we can gray that down just a little. And for that I need to add green, which I will make with ultramarine blue and a little bit of yellow. Next up we have this pretty salmon color. There's nothing on the chart. Cad Yellow Medium and Alizarin Crimson, which is here. And my blue red. Not so much of it. And my master color is supposed to be, what did I say? Cad Yellow Medium and alizarin crimson, which is right here. And I need more. Warmer. Okay. Let's go ahead and do some white and see what damage we get into. Oops. Ooh. Real darn close. Grayed just a little, and if you gray orange with its complement, it would be purple. Is that right? Orange, purplish blue. So I'm going to use some of my mud, which is my pre-mixture of ultramarine blue and red, and see what happens. Just like magic. Very good. I'm not sure I like it though. I think I liked it before I put the... So let's see, we said cad yellow medium. What's that cad red doing open? Did I use cad? I may have. No, I don't remember. Cad yellow medium and alizarin. Cool red. And white. You'll learn too which colors are your strongest pigments. And in this case, the naphthol red is a lot stronger than the cad yellow medium in pigment. So you have to adjust your two color formulas to be a little more, you got to take that into account. And if you'll notice, my main pigment, I'm always starting with about a 60 to 70% more. Real close. Okay, we are painting a burlap. Write down my formula. And it is cad yellow medium, alizarin crimson, white, mud. Next color, I better get that off there before I make a big mess. Next color is this blue, phthalo blue, and cad red light. Phthalo blue. This is a greenish blue. And my warm red. Now phthalo is going to be a lot stronger than the red, so I will need more than I got a little more of a blue cast to it. So I'm going to add a little bit of ultramarine. Oops, I forgot that lid was off. Blew it up a little. Wrong one. Okay, that's better. See? Now, add a little bit of white. So I added just a hair, just a little bit of the ultramarine. Now that's a pretty color. The other one was too, but it wasn't what I was aiming for, so there. Almost perfect. Okay, so write it down. We have phthalo blue, cad red light, white. No, was that light or medium? No, it was medium. Cad red medium. No poop, it was the red light. White and just a touch ultramarine blue. Whoops, put your swatch on. Look at this, isn't it pretty? Pretty, pretty, pretty. Paint a swatch. I'm definitely going to have to make some more of this. Okie dokie, here we go. Phthalo blue. Cad red light. A touch of ultramarine. And white. How close did I get? Look at that. Bingo! What's his name? Oh. Forgot to turn the camera on. I added about 2 drops of orange to gray this down. Oh wait, I gotta do my swatch. Alright, next color is... Whoops, we already finished that one. Ooh, that pretty purple. Mud and ultramarine So mud is here. And ultramarine. And a whole bunch of white to get to that lightest value. And I want to dull that just a little bit. So I'm going to go to my color chart. I'm about right in here. And yellow will do it. So let's get the darker yellow. Bye! Dropped it in the floor. Way too much. One drop would have been enough. Ooh, looks like baby poop. Not that. What is it? Ultramarine blue. I did ultramarine blue. Hello, mud. So ultramarine blue, mud is half and half. And I'm almost out of my palette. So I'm just going to mix half and half in this sludge and see what we get. Need more blue. Believe it or not, we're getting there. Gonna take a buttload of white. See, we're right there now. If I hadn't squeezed twice as much yellow as I needed. You know, I think I'm going to call it there because it's so easy for somebody else to add their white if they want a lighter tone. So I'm going to just do my swatch. Alright, so we said it was mud, ultramarine blue, white, and cad yellow medium. So whoever's watching this video, take away a couple of things. One is, I get the closest target color I can get from my swatches using two pigments and white. I pick the closest I can get. Then I judge whether it's warm enough or cool enough, and whether it needs to be grayed down a little bit. And if it needs to be grayed down a little bit, add just a tiny skosh, like 1 drop. Beautiful color. Add 1 drop of that complementary color. Go buy yourself a color wheel and use it. Because if you've mixed a color that falls between 2 colors, yeah, you could say blue and orange and red and green, but it might be a cool green or it might be a warm green. And we don't use green on this palette anyway, so there you go. Alright, I'll be back. Claret, and that's alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue, which is mud, my mud. I'm just going to mix some. Mostly alizarin crimson. Real close. I think I'm stopping. No white. So let's do our formula first. Formula for this one is alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue. We're going to try Dusty Rose. And that is Cad Red Light, Mud and Cad Red Light. So equal these, and then Cad Red Light. And then that's going to take a whole bunch of white. Cad Red Light, Cad Red Light, Cad Red Light. Want to warm it up just a little. I'm going to try just a little bit. This is Cad Yellow Medium. See what happens. Why not? It wouldn't hurt to have just a little bit of green. I'm going to use some of this Celadon that I mixed up, had left over. Is my memory shot. Mud, Cad Red Light. Cad yellow medium. Okay, next one up. We've done that one, sort of. The next one is, I'm going to try mostly Hansa yellow, which I'm going to try a new khaki color. Mostly Hansa. And then mud, which I don't have any more of, so I'm going to do equal red and ultramarine. I got too much. Whoops, that was Cad Red Light. Uh-oh. We'll see. I was supposed to pick up the cool red, and I picked up the warm red. Now with all that blue in there, this orange is going to act as a little bit of a gray catalyst. Still too red. I'll hit it with some cool yellow. We'll see what happens. It's about the right value. Real close to what their label looks like. And we're going to let that go. So our main color is Hansa. Then mud. And then white. Then Cad Red Light. Orange. I think that was it. Real close. Could stand to be cooled down just a little bit, but when I start getting tired, I start getting more accepting. Let's see, I didn't do a swatch. Okay, I've got two other colors on here. I have this one that's kind of a soft sand. Y'all listening? And then this one, which is we've been flirting around with. And I'm not going to do that because it's so close to what I've already done. I'm talking about this one. I'm not going to do another blue. Those are nuances that are a little bit difficult for me to get being tired. So there you go. And probably if you added white to this one, you'd get that one. So that gives us, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think, and then, wait a minute. But one of those I did not make a swatch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I have 10. I'm going to turn this off and think. I'm going to see if I can, well, I'm not going to see if I can, I'm just going to do it. Cad yellow medium and ultramarine blue, and I want to see if I can get more of an olive green. Excuse me. Alright, so what did I say? Cad Yellow Medium. And Ultramarine Blue. Less of that one. So Phthalo Blue. Let's do a little phthalo and see what happens. Phthalo is a very, very strong color. So what it did was it cooled down that green I had mixed. Now that on its own is a very, very pretty color. Let's add, oops, over here to the side. That's a grassy green, which we've kind of got. I like that. We're going with that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, baby, baby. Okay, so that is Cad Yellow Medium, Ultramarine Blue, and then a little bit of Phthalo Blue, and Cad Yellow, Hansa. And white. That's a beautiful color. Oh, nope, it's not anywhere close to my Celadon. So what's the takeaway for you as an artist or as a beginning crafter? You start out in a curious phase, and that's where it's all new to you and you're sticking your toe in the water and you're starting out with just a few supplies. In 6 months to a year, depending on how much time you have, you're going to slip over into more of a curious state. And that state's where you're going to start noticing a little more depth in what you're doing, a little more color choice, a little more supply choice. And as you are in that phase solidly, you start being aware of other mediums of watercolor and oil, soft pastels. And then you enter what I call the obsessed stage. That's where these color charts come from, is my obsessed, curious to obsessed stage. The Ann Templeton palette is the one I did first. That was the tutor that I learned to paint oil with, so it was natural that I took her palette and adapted it for my own until I could figure out whether it worked or not. And then I went into the Richard Smith palette, and he's the one who really made this method popular. And he only uses 11 colors. So narrowing it down, and then I went on to the split primary, which is only 6, plus my extra orange and the mud mixture, which is made up of 2 of the others. I also threw in one from Anders Zorn, which is a 4-color palette, in which he claimed to make a lot of his figurative works and other paintings, really a lot of his landscapes, just using these 4 colors. So when you learn what your colors do, you can get by with less and less. And that's the takeaway for you, that you don't have to run out and buy a special tube of paint if you're using artist chemically named paints that are single pigment. You can't have a mixture from the factory and expect to get good mixing results. So that's your takeaway. I know this is long. Like I said, I'm over into the obsessed column, so bear with me and absorb what you can use and save the rest for later. So I'll see ya. Bye-bye.